Hi everybody, Father Bill Holzinger here, and this is your Friday Reflection. Well, when I first arrived here a couple of years ago, it was just so wonderful to join, but I never actually had come to the church. And when I did, I was just amazed at the beauty and the grandeur of the church that we have. And along with that, you might have noticed that as the time has gone on, a few little changes have happened here and there liturgically. Where did all those come from? Well, in the year 2003, the General Instructions to the Roman Missal, which is a book, actually it's a little addition to what's called the Missal, and it's about that thick in the Missal. The Missal is a big red book you might see us have at Mass. In this book, what we call the GIRM, the General Instructions to the Roman Missal, it describes the things as they are supposed to be and how to do Mass. Some of those things were like, for example, that the chalices need to be made out of something sturdy like metal or possibly something other, like maybe hardwood or something. What was not allowed, and something that I know in my previous parishes we had, was glass or crystal chalices. And so in 2003, we were asked to then kind of phase those out, and we did. I don't know what happened here at Holy Trinity. I assume some of that was possibly the same thing. But with that also came the idea of glassware in general was not intended to be used for the Eucharist. So when I got here, I noticed that we had a glass ciborium. That's the thing that's the container that we place the Eucharist in and place that into the tabernacle when Mass is over, or when a homebound minister needs to get a host, they go to the tabernacle and they get a host out of there. The diocese then started also sharing with us that we need to share or pull out those glassware wherever we could, phase them out, and then again replace them with things that are more precious and more sturdy. So here, when I got here, I noticed that we had glassware in that regard. In fact, we also had glassware for the precious blood for those who were receiving only precious blood because of celiac disease, etc. So I had those swapped out. So you might notice that we have small little diminutive chalices on the altar for those folks. And the ciborium itself in the tabernacle is also made out of metal with a bronze or a kind of gold coloring on it. Those kind of things. When I did arrive here, there was also discussion about why aren't there statues in the church and what's the deal with our crucifix that some people didn't understand and maybe didn't like it. Well, I noticed that our crucifix, which I have right here, is something very unusual in our parish. And so I was like, well, let's take a look and see what that is. As I then come to learn, it was something that was fundraised for by many people in the parish. It was something that was in addition to the parish. Originally, the church had nothing on this back wall, actually, and it needed to have a crucifix. Well, the instructions to the Roman Missal actually have a commentary, or guidance, I should say, about what should be on that wall. And so does also a document called Built of Living Stones. It was a document in 2000 that came out, and it really then kind of worked through all the details of what should be in a church. And it mentions a crucifix in the sanctuary. This, unfortunately, though, is actually not a crucifix. A crucifix isn't just a cross that happens to have a body on it. It's a cross that has Christ crucified on it. So you might see this. This is an unusual one that we have here. More common is a resurrected image of Jesus in front of the cross. And these are these images that actually are then being, let's say, removed or changed to conform more to the norms. And so I've been engaging with our liturgy committee to seek about where did this, the cross that we have come from? What's its origin? What does it mean? And so I even then was able to connect with the artisan Greg Lewis, who actually made this and did it with chainsaw art. It's actually multiple pieces of wood, and it's actually carved out in the back so it's not so heavy, things like that. It was very, very informative. And I chatted with him about, how this doesn't meet the norms anymore. And I was talking about the potential of maybe replacing that with a actual crucifix. And so began a conversation with him, but also with our liturgy committee. In our liturgy committee, we bantered around ideas. And for now, a year and a half, we've been talking about what possibilities we might do, and then also potentially looking into getting some statues in the sanctuary area or somewhere nearby. And so that's what's been going on. I just want to let you know, because in the bulletin this week, you'll see more details about some of the information that I'm sharing with you now. And so there's a process now that's underway to reflect on and discern how we might be able to then make the church more in conformity with that particular norm, having a crucifix in the sanctuary. So right now, this is an image of Jesus, as I understand from Greg Lewis, the Ascension. And so he has his hand out, going to the side. I'm not sure exactly what that means. Maybe it's an image towards the people as he's ascending. But that was the idea of that. of course, with that conversation with Mr. Lewis, I talked to him about like, well, could we do with it? So we walked around areas around the school and other places, and we may have found some spots that may be possible to put this in its place, in like maybe one of the stairwells, so that when you're coming, you will see it immediately. So, because we want to honor our past as we build towards some future in regards to this liturgical situation that we have with the crucifix. So I just want to let you know that's what we're thinking. And people have been asking how we're going to be replacing the crucifix. Like, well, it is a goal, and there is no timeline for it. We're going to take our time with it. This weekend, or actually Saturday, you'll see this video maybe Friday or Saturday. On Saturday, the liturgy committee is meeting again. We're going to review different possibilities for a cross and a crucifix, and then maybe even consider looking into different statues of Mary and Joseph that may be put possibly on our big glue lamp beams, or maybe on the walls on the sides. We're not sure. So we're not, we're looking into this. I also brought this to Archbishop Sample to get his guidance, and he agreed that it should probably be changed out for a crucifix, so that it becomes more part of the norm. And this is not about art per se. That is, like, I don't like this piece of art. It is unusual. I must say, people will come to me that are new to us and say, what is that? They don't know what to say. But they do ask about it, and sometimes I'll share with them, like, well, we're looking into something that's more conformity with the norms as a crucifix itself. So as I share this may be a shocker for you, or maybe a concern for you. I want to let you know that I'm all ears to listen to what you have to say. So is Deacon Brett, people on our liturgy committee. You're welcome to talk to them as well. We're looking for your input. We're not going to be doing, when we do this process, we're not going to be voting on anything. The goal here is we're not going to fundraise for it either. The church will just discern with this committee, I'll discern with the committee to discern what we want to do, and we'll just pay for that out of our savings to make sure that it is a good quality item. And then, of course, it has to fit in our church. And if we do get statues, wherever they may be, that may be a second thing. This is the first one, is the crucifix. But we'll see, and they'll have to match somehow. So this is a lot of detail. And that means that, who knows, maybe furniture in the sanctuary here has to be moved somehow. We're not sure about that. So we're exploring. I don't want to panic you if you're like, oh no, this is going to happen tomorrow. No, this is going to take a while. Because I want to make sure that you're informed that we're talking about it, we're thinking about it. Your ideas are welcome. If you want to email me, that would be great. Or email Deacon Brett, that would be awesome. Just let us know what you're thinking. And so, because we want to make a good decision. And the decision is not based on things like this, because I've taught classes on what's called Christology. Christology is the study of who Jesus is and the history of how people have understood him. But it's not going to be based on, like, for example, homework that I would often give in my class. I'd have people go home, get a crucifix from their house and bring it back to class and talk about it. One of the things is they can't tell me that, oh, I love this. It's because it reminds me of Aunt Tilly who gave it to me. I'm like, that's great. But what is the theology? What is it saying? Like this, for example, there's a theology. This I had to ask about because it was a little confusing. And it's about the ascension. It's not Christ crucified, but it's Christ already crucified and now risen from the dead and ascending into heaven. That's the image there. So every crucifix, look in your own house. What is on your crosses in your house? What crucifix do you have? So, by the way, the difference between a cross is just the wooden cross or a cross shape, and a crucifix is with Jesus crucified on it. So what is it? So you may have one in your house. What is the theology of that cross or that crucifix? What is the image of Jesus? Like some of them will have like a crown on Jesus' head. He'll be looking straight ahead and he'll have his arms straight out. That's often Christ the King, a sign that he is in control. He's in charge. He's the King of Kings and Lords of Lords. Other times Christ will be looking and he'll be crucified on the cross, but he'll be awake, so he hasn't yet passed. Other ones will have him with his head down one way or another, and that'll show that Christ has passed. What ultimately is the theology that should be part of a crucifix? And that is one of sacrificial love. And I ask myself, and ask you as well, so what's the greater thing, if you think about it, to suffer and die for someone, or to rise from the dead? I mean, what would you prefer? I mean, I'd prefer rising from the dead. That whole death thing is kind of scary and yucky, but my friends, that's what Jesus did. I've had friends of mine who have come and visited in other parishes, and they see a crucifix in our sanctuary, and they go, Jesus is no longer dead. He's not on the cross anymore. I'm like, gotcha. That's right. Definitely not. But what is the greater sign? This is the sign of the greatest love in the world, the greatest love that ever has been. And we all know it when we receive sacrificial love from our loved ones, that they've, gone out of their way to do something for us. Well, God went well out of his way to do something for us, and that is he sent us his son, and that son willingly was whipped and beaten, crucified and died for us. And that's what we truly profess when we have a crucifix, and we're supposed to be imaging when we have a church. What happens at Mass is considered a sacrifice on that altar, that Christ, who was suffered, died and buried and rose again, and all of those events, including the Last Supper, is made present again, represented at Mass. And so this image, the crucifix, is supposed to symbolize that one peak moment of the consummation of heaven and earth, where Christ himself sacrifices for us and crushes death. That's what it's supposed to be. And that's where, in this case, it's not happening with this particular cross. It is a little different message. And again, back before, let's say 2003, when the GIRM was redone, this was fine. And so was also those crosses with a resurrected image on it. That's fine. There's no harm and no foul with the crosses that people were putting up. Those were part of the norms back then. But things since 2003 have changed, and even in that document in 2000 said the same. The Archdiocese also put out in 2018 a liturgical handbook, and again it repeats the same thing, that the cross in the sanctuary is supposed to be a cross that is a crucified Jesus on the cross. So that's where all this comes from. So we're just trying to kind of put little things here and there into the norm, and this is one of those things that's kind of large. It quite literally is large, and that may have a little impact on some people and great impact on other people, just because they may like it and some people may not like it. They don't want it changed or do want it changed. But I just want to share my thoughts and my heart to you. I'm very aware that this, could be a very heartfelt symbol for people, and that may be a difficult thing for you. So I just want to let you know that this is underway, so you can kind of process that, have an ability to talk with me. I'm willing to also host maybe a town hall if anybody wants to talk about the cross, the crucifix, what we might do, that kind of thing, and just general norms within the church itself. Because we have other questions like, so what do we do with our icons of Joseph and Mary if we put statues here, etc.? See how things start to domino. So we have to think well and kind of clear on these things, and make sure that we do this in a way that is with the church, with the community, our parish, and is collaborative as we go. Yes, I do recognize with any change, some people won't agree, but I would just ask, if that is the case for you, just ask for God's will to be done. And pray for me, pray for us in the liturgy committee as we discern how we might go forward and what it might look like, and make sure that we get something that will fit in the church in its style and likeness, and that will inspire you, as myself as well, and to be like Jesus. That is, to sacrifice our lives when we come into this church, and when we go out especially, to sacrifice our lives to give away our very selves to the people we love. May God bless you, folks, and I will see you this weekend. I'm preaching, so pray for me, and I will talk to you then. Bye-bye.